I manage commercial leases for a living. Warehouses, strip malls, office buildings, places where people make money or pretend to. The irony isn't lost on me that I can't even manage my own wife. My name is Henry Dalton, and at 46, I've learned that life has a twisted sense of humor. Take this morning, for instance. I'm sitting in my cramped office on the third floor of a building that smells like burnt coffee and broken dreams, when my phone buzzes with a text from Paula. "Working late again. Don't wait up." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. It's the 5th time this month. Paula works in pharmaceutical marketing. Big money, bigger egos. She used to come home excited about campaigns and drug launches. Now she comes home smelling like expensive cologne that definitely isn't mine. The air conditioning unit in my office makes a sound like a fading walrus. I've been meaning to fix it for months, but somehow Paula's needs always take priority. New car, new wardrobe, new attitude. Everything new except our marriage. "Henry, you got a minute?" Greg Sanders pokes his head through my door. Greg owns a sports bar downtown and has been my best friend since college. He's also the only person who still tells me the truth. "Sure, what's up?" Greg settles into the chair across from my desk, his expression serious. "I was at the Marriott downtown last night for my cousin's wedding reception. Saw something you might want to know about." My stomach drops, but I keep my voice steady. "What kind of something?" "Paula, with some guy in an expensive suit. They were close. Real close." I lean back in my chair, feeling oddly calm. "Describe him." "Tall, silver hair, drove off in a black Range Rover. License plate had some vanity thing. Couldn't make it out from where I was standing." I nod slowly. The pieces are falling into place like a jigsaw puzzle I've been avoiding for months. "Thanks for telling me. Henry, I'm sorry. I know this sucks, but don't be sorry. Be helpful. You still have connections at the DMV?" Greg's eyebrows raise. "Yeah, my brother-in-law works there." "Why?" "I might need a favor soon." After Greg leaves, I sit alone with the failing air conditioner and my thoughts. Paula's been distant for months, but I've been telling myself it was work stress. The late nights, the secretive phone calls, the way she flinches when I touch her, all explained away by my desperate need to believe in something that was already over. My phone rings. Paula's name flashes on the screen. "Hey," I answer. "Henry, I'm going to be really late tonight. Big presentation tomorrow, you know how it is." Her voice has that careful tone she uses when she's lying. I've heard it enough to recognize it now. "Sure, no problem. I'll probably grab dinner with Greg anyway." "Great, love you." The words sound hollow, like she's reading from a script. "Love you too." After she hangs up, I stare at my phone for a long moment. Then I open my laptop and start researching private investigators. Not because I need proof, Greg's word is good enough for me, but because I want details, names, places, timelines. If Paula wants to play games, she's about to learn that I've been playing them longer. The rest of the day drags by in a haze of lease agreements and tenant complaints. Mrs. Chen from the dry cleaner calls to complain about the parking lot potholes again. I promise to look into it, knowing full well that our cheap landlord won't spend a dime on repairs. It's all about managing expectations and keeping everyone just happy enough to stay. Kind of like marriage, I suppose. At 6 o'clock, I pack up and head home to our suburban paradise in West Chase. The house is a 3-bedroom ranch with a 2-car garage and a mortgage that keeps me awake at night. Paula picked it out 3 years ago, insisting we needed to live up to our potential. What she meant was that her pharma job came with social expectations, and our old apartment didn't fit the image. The house is dark when I pull into the driveway. Paula's BMW is gone, naturally. I grab a beer from the fridge and settle into my recliner. The one piece of furniture Paula hasn't managed to replace with something more sophisticated. That's when I see it. Wedged between the couch cushions, a thin gold chain catches the lamplight. I fish it out and examine the pendant, an expensive-looking bracelet with an inscription, L&R forever. L and R, not H and P. I turn the bracelet over in my hands, feeling its weight. This isn't costume jewelry. This is the kind of thing that comes in a small velvet box with a price tag that makes grown men weep. My phone buzzes with another text from Paula. Presentation running longer than expected. Might not be home until after midnight. I look at the bracelet again, then type back. No worries. Found something interesting while cleaning up. We should talk when you get home. Her response comes back immediately. What kind of something? The kind that has someone else's initials on it. 3 dots appear and disappear several times. Finally, I can explain. I'm sure you can. Take your time with that presentation. I set the phone aside and take a long pull from my beer. 20 years of marriage, and it comes down to a piece of jewelry hidden in my own living room. The woman I've loved since college, the woman I've worked overtime to provide for, the woman who promised to love me in sickness and in health. She's been playing house with someone whose name starts with L. The air conditioning kicks on, filling the silence with its mechanical hum. Outside, the neighborhood settles into its evening routine. Porch lights flicker on, garage doors rumble closed, families gather around dinner tables to share their days. I finish my beer and get another one. Then I call Greg. It's Henry. That favor we talked about? I need it tonight. The Range Rover's license plate reads Luke 1. Greg's brother-in-law came through faster than expected. Luke Reeves, age 44, executive vice president at Meridian Pharmaceuticals. Married to Mara Reeves, 2 kids in private school, lives in a gated community 20 minutes from my house. It's amazing what you can learn about someone when you put your mind to it. I'm sitting at my kitchen table at 11:30 p.m., laptop open, scrolling through Luke's LinkedIn profile. Harvard MBA, 20 years in pharmaceutical sales, currently oversees the Southeast region for Meridian. His company photo shows a man with silver hair and the kind of confident smile that comes from never being told no. Paula's car pulls into the driveway at 11:47 p.m. I close the laptop and wait. She comes through the front door looking nervous, her usual composure cracked around the edges. Henry? You still up? In the kitchen. She appears in the doorway, still wearing her work clothes, a navy blue dress that cost more than my monthly car payment. Her makeup is perfect, which is interesting considering she's supposedly been in meetings all evening. So, she says, setting her purse on the counter. You found something? I hold up the bracelet. This ring a bell? Her face goes through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, fear, calculation. She settles on indignation. Where did you find that? In our couch, where you left it. Henry, I can explain. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think it belongs to Luke Reeves's wife. You know, Luke from Meridian Pharmaceuticals? The guy with the Range Rover who's been taking you to hotels? The color drains from her face. How did you... Does it matter? The question is, how long has this been going on? She sits down across from me, her hands shaking slightly. Henry, please. It's complicated. Complicated. I turn the word over in my mouth like a piece of sour candy. You know what's complicated? Explaining to your husband why another man's wife's bracelet is in your living room, that's complicated. It just happened. We were working on a campaign together and... Save it. I stand up, feeling calmer than I have in months. I don't need the details. I just need to know if you want to work this out or if you want out. Paula looks up at me with tears in her eyes. Real tears, which surprises me. I don't know. I'm so confused, Henry. Everything happened so fast, and I never meant for... The doorbell rings. We both freeze. It's almost midnight on a Tuesday. Nobody rings doorbells at midnight unless someone's gone or in trouble. Expecting someone? I ask. Paula shakes her head, looking genuinely puzzled. I walk to the front door and peer through the peephole. A woman stands on my porch, perfectly composed despite the late hour. She's about Paula's age, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun and the kind of posture that suggests she's used to being in charge. I open the door. Can I help you? Mr. Dalton? I'm Mara Reeves. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Behind me, I hear Paula gasp. Come in, I say, stepping aside. I think we need to talk. Mara walks into my kitchen like she owns the place. She's wearing jeans and a simple white blouse, but she carries herself like royalty. When she sees Paula, her expression doesn't change, but the temperature in the room drops about 10 degrees. Hello, Paula. You look surprised to see me. Paula stands up shakily. Mara, I can explain. Sit down. Mara's voice is quiet but carries absolute authority. Paula sits. Mara turns to me. Mr. Dalton, I apologize for the late hour, but I thought it was time we all had a conversation. Call me Henry. And yes, I think that's a good idea. Mara reaches into her purse and pulls out a manila envelope. Before we begin, I want to show you both something. She opens the envelope and spreads photographs across my kitchen table. Hotel receipts, text message screenshots, pictures of Paula and Luke holding hands in a restaurant I can't afford. Paula stares at the evidence, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. How long have you known? I ask Mara. 3 weeks. A friend saw them together and thought I should know. She picks up one of the photos, Luke and Paula kissing in a parking garage. I hired a private investigator to confirm what I already suspected. And now? Mara looks at me with something that might be respect. Now I think it's time for consequences. Paula finds her voice. Mara, please, it's not what it looks like. We never meant for... For what? For me to find out? For your husband to find out? Mara's composure finally cracks, revealing the anger underneath. Did you think about my children? Did you think about what this would do to them when it came out? It doesn't have to come out, Paula says desperately. We can end it. We can... Oh, it's already ended, Mara says. I made sure of that this afternoon when I showed these pictures to Luke's boss. The silence that follows is deafening. Paula stares at Mara in horror. You didn't. I did. Meridian has a very strict policy about executives having affairs with employees of partner companies. Luke was terminated at 5 o'clock today. I lean back in my chair, impressed despite myself. You don't mess around, do you? 20 years of marriage, Mr. Dalton. 20 years of building a life together, raising children, making sacrifices. I don't take that lightly. Paula stands up abruptly. You had no right. You've ruined everything. I ruined everything? Mara's voice rises for the first time. I'm not the one who decided to throw away 2 marriages for a few months of excitement. Luke loves me. Luke loves the idea of you. Young, exciting, different from his boring wife. But when it comes down to choosing between you and his children's college funds, what do you think he's going to pick? Paula's phone buzzes. She looks at it, and her face crumbles. He's not answering my calls. He won't, Mara says matter-of-factly. I made it very clear that any further contact with you would result in those photos being shared with his children and his ex-colleagues. I look at my wife, really look at her, and see a stranger. The woman I married would never have done this. The woman I married had integrity, compassion, loyalty. This person, sitting at my kitchen table crying over her married boyfriend, is someone I don't recognize. What happens now? I ask Mara. She gathers up the photos and puts them back in the envelope. That depends on what you want to happen, Henry. I've handled my part. Luke knows the marriage is over, and he knows the cost of his choices. What you do with Paula is up to you. Paula looks at me with desperate eyes. Henry, please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can... Can we? Because I'm looking at evidence that you've been lying to me for months. I'm looking at hotel receipts and romantic dinners and text messages that would make a sailor blush. What exactly are we supposed to fix? Our marriage, 20 years, Henry. That has to count for something. I stand up and walk to the kitchen window, looking out at our perfect suburban street. 20 years. You're right. That does count for something. It counts for 20 years of me working overtime to pay for this house you had to have. 20 years of me supporting your career while mine stayed stagnant. 20 years of me believing that we were building something together. I turn back to face her. But apparently, you've been building something else entirely. Mara stands up. I should go. I've said what I came to say. Wait, I call out as she heads for the door. What about Luke? What's he going to do now? Luke's going to learn what it's like to start over at 44 with no job, no wife, and 2 children who are about to find out their father is a cheater. She pauses at the door. He's also going to learn what it's like to pay alimony to someone who has very good lawyers. After she leaves, Paula and I sit in silence for a long time. The kitchen clock ticks loudly, marking the seconds of our disintegrating marriage. So what now? Paula finally asks. I look at her, really look at her, and feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, no love, just emptiness where 20 years used to be. Now you pack a bag and stay somewhere else tonight. Tomorrow you call a lawyer. Henry, I'm done, Paula. We're done. She starts to cry again, but I'm already walking away. I have phone calls to make and plans to finalize. Because if Mara Reeves taught me anything tonight, it's that consequences matter. And Paula's are just getting started. 3 days later, I'm sitting in Greg's bar nursing a whiskey and watching the local news. The anchor is talking about a shake-up at Meridian Pharmaceuticals, following the sudden departure of a senior executive. They don't mention Luke by name, but they don't have to. You look like hell, Greg says, refilling my glass. Feel like it too. Paula moved in with her friend Tanya after our kitchen confrontation. She's been calling and texting nonstop, alternating between apologies and accusations. I've ignored them all. Any word from the Ice Queen? Greg asks. He means Mara. I've been thinking about her a lot since that night. The way she handled the situation with such precision, such control, like she'd been planning it for weeks. Actually, yes. I pull out my phone and show him a text I received this morning. Coffee? We should discuss next steps. Greg whistles. Next steps? What kind of next steps? That's what I'm going to find out. I meet Mara at a Starbucks downtown, away from both our neighborhoods. She's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table with a laptop open and a stack of papers beside her. Henry, thank you for coming. I sit down across from her. What did you want to discuss? She closes the laptop and looks at me directly. Revenge. I'm listening. Luke thinks this is over. He thinks losing his job is the end of his consequences. He's wrong. She opens a folder and slides a document across the table. This is a financial disclosure form that Luke filled out 6 months ago when he applied for a promotion. Notice anything interesting? I scan the document. He lied about his assets. By about $200,000. He's been hiding money in offshore accounts, probably planning to leave me anyway. She takes a sip of her coffee. The IRS would be very interested in this information. You're going to turn him in? I'm going to give him a chance to do the right thing first. Transfer the hidden assets back to our joint account, agree to a fair divorce settlement, and disappear quietly. And if he doesn't? Her smile is sharp as a blade. Then I make his life very difficult. I lean back in my chair. What does this have to do with me? Paula knows about the hidden accounts. Luke told her he was planning to leave me and marry her once his finances were sorted out. She's been helping him move money around through her company's international accounts. The pieces click into place. She's been embezzling. Not exactly. More like creative accounting, using her access to pharmaceutical marketing funds to facilitate Luke's money transfers, technically legal but definitely against company policy. You have proof? Mara slides another folder across the table. Bank records, email correspondence, transaction logs, everything Paula's boss would need to fire her and possibly press charges. I stare at the evidence. How did you get all this? Luke's not as smart as he thinks he is. He used our home computer for some of the transactions. And Paula's been sloppy. She saved emails to her personal account. So what are you proposing? A coordinated effort. We both confront them with the evidence, give them a chance to come clean, and then we decide how much damage we want to do. I think about Paula's tears, her desperate pleas for forgiveness. Then I think about 20 years of marriage thrown away for a man who was planning to use her and discard her. What kind of damage are we talking about? Mara's smile gets wider. The kind that makes them understand the real cost of their choices. That evening, I'm waiting in my living room when Paula comes by to pick up more clothes. She's been avoiding me since our kitchen confrontation, sending Tanya to get her things. But tonight, she needs her good jewelry for a job interview. Henry? She calls from the bedroom. In here. She appears in the doorway looking nervous. I just need a few more things, then I'll be gone. Actually, I think we should talk. She sits down on the edge of the couch, maintaining distance. About what? I open my laptop and turn it toward her. About Luke's offshore accounts. About the money transfers you've been facilitating through your company. About the embezzlement charges you're about to face. The color drains from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. Paula, I have bank records. I have emails. I have transaction logs going back 6 months. She stares at the screen, her mouth opening and closing silently. Did you really think Luke was going to marry you? Did you really think a man who would steal from his own wife and cheat on his taxes was going to be faithful to you? It's not stealing, she says weakly. It's his money. Hidden from his wife during divorce proceedings? The IRS might disagree. Paula stands up abruptly. You can't prove anything. I don't have to prove anything. I just have to share what I know with your boss. Let him decide if your behavior meets company standards. You wouldn't. I close the laptop. Try me. She stares at me for a long moment, then sits back down. What do you want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to understand that you can't destroy 2 marriages and walk away unscathed. Luke lied. About everything. About leaving his wife. About the money. About having a future with you. You were a convenient distraction, nothing more. Tears start flowing down her cheeks. That's not true. When's the last time you heard from him? She doesn't answer. Paula, when's the last time Luke returned your calls? He's dealing with a lot right now. The job situation that happened because his wife turned him in for having an affair. The wife he's now trying to reconcile with to avoid losing half his assets in divorce court. Her face crumbles. He wouldn't. I pull out my phone and show her a photo Mara sent me an hour ago. Luke and Mara having dinner at an expensive restaurant, holding hands across the table. Reconciliation dinner, I explain. Apparently Luke's very sorry for his mistakes and wants to work on their marriage. Paula stares at the photo like it's written in a foreign language. But he loves me. He loves himself. You were just a way to feel young and important again. My phone buzzes with a text from Mara. Phase 2? I look at Paula, crying on my couch, and feel something I haven't felt in months. Satisfaction. Here's what's going to happen, I tell her. You're going to confess to your boss about the money transfers. You're going to resign quietly and hope they don't press charges. And you're going to sign whatever divorce papers my lawyer puts in front of you. And if I don't? Then Mara and I release everything to your company, the IRS, and anyone else who might be interested. Your choice. Paula wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen, and now you get to live with the consequences. After she leaves, I pour myself a drink and call Mara. How did she take it? she asks. About as well as expected. What about Luke? He's agreed to transfer the hidden assets back to our joint account and sign a generous divorce settlement. Apparently, the threat of IRS involvement was very motivating. So it's over? There's a pause. Not quite. I have one more surprise for them. What kind of surprise? The kind that ensures they never forget the cost of their choices. I lean back in my chair, curious despite myself. I'm listening. Tomorrow is the annual pharmaceutical industry conference downtown. Luke was supposed to give a keynote speech about ethical business practices. Was? He still is, but he's going to have some unexpected guests in the audience. I smile for the first time in weeks. Mara, remind me never to get on your bad side. Henry, you don't have a bad side to worry about, unlike some people. After we hang up, I sit in my empty house and think about consequences. For 20 years, I've been the kind of man who avoids conflict, who keeps his head down and hopes problems resolve themselves. But problems don't resolve themselves. They just get bigger until someone forces a resolution. Tomorrow, Paula and Luke are going to learn what forced resolution looks like, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. The Tampa Convention Center is buzzing with pharmaceutical executives when I arrive the next morning. I'm wearing my best suit, the one I bought for Paula's company Christmas party last year, and feeling like I'm about to watch the best show of my life. Mara is waiting for me in the lobby, looking professional in a navy business dress. Right on time. Wouldn't miss it. Where's the main event? Conference room A. Luke's speech starts in 20 minutes. We make our way through the crowd of name-tagged executives. I spot Paula near the registration table, looking nervous in a black dress I've never seen before. She's scanning the crowd like she's expecting trouble. She knows something's up, I tell Mara. Good. Fear is an excellent teacher. We find seats in the back of the conference room just as Luke takes the stage. He looks confident, polished, the picture of pharmaceutical success. His topic: maintaining ethical standards in a competitive industry. The irony is so thick I could cut it with a knife. Ladies and gentlemen, Luke begins, in today's market, it's more important than ever to maintain the highest ethical standards. Mara leans over and whispers, "Watch the door." Two men in dark suits enter the room and take seats near the front. They're not pharmaceutical executives. I can tell by the way they carry themselves. These are investigators. Luke notices them too. His confident smile falters for just a moment before he continues his speech. Ethical behavior isn't just good business, he says, his voice slightly strained. It's a moral imperative that affects every aspect of our professional lives. One of the investigators opens a briefcase and pulls out a manila folder. Luke's eyes lock onto it, and I see sweat beginning to form on his forehead. Of course, Luke continues, his voice cracking slightly. We all face temptations in our careers. The key is to resist those temptations and maintain our integrity. The second investigator stands up and walks toward the stage. The room falls silent. Mr. Reeves, I'm Agent Martinez with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. We need to speak with you. The silence that follows is deafening. Luke stares at the agent like a deer in headlights. In the audience, Paula has gone pale as a ghost. This is highly irregular, Luke stammers. I'm in the middle of a presentation. The presentation's over, sir. Please step down from the stage. Luke looks around the room desperately, his eyes finding Mara in the back row. She gives him a small wave and a cold smile. This is a mistake, Luke says into the microphone, his voice echoing through the room. I haven't done anything wrong. Agent Martinez approaches the stage. Sir, you can either come with us voluntarily, or we can make this more difficult. Your choice. Luke's carefully constructed facade finally cracks. Mara, tell them this is a misunderstanding. Every head in the room turns to look at us. Mara stands up slowly, her voice carrying clearly across the silent conference room. The only misunderstanding, Luke, is thinking you could steal from your family and cheat on your taxes without consequences. The murmur that ripples through the crowd is like music to my ears. These are Luke's peers, his professional network. By tomorrow, everyone in the pharmaceutical industry will know what happened here. Luke is escorted from the stage, his face red with humiliation and rage. As he passes our row, he stops and stares at Mara. "You vindictive snake. You've destroyed everything." "No," Mara says calmly. "You destroyed everything. I just made sure you paid for it." Security moves Luke along, but not before he spots me sitting next to his wife. "Henry? What the hell are you doing here?" "Learning about consequences," I tell him. "You should try it sometime." After Luke is removed from the room, the conference organizers try to restore order, but it's useless. The damage is done. I watch Paula slip out of the room, probably hoping to avoid being associated with the scandal. Mara and I follow her into the lobby. "Paula," I call out. She turns around, her face streaked with tears. "Henry, please. I didn't know about the tax evasion. I swear I didn't know." "But you knew about the hidden accounts. You knew about the money transfers." "He said it was legal. He said he was just protecting assets during the divorce." Mara steps forward. "And you believed him? You thought helping a married man hide money from his wife was ethical business practice?" Paula looks between us, finally understanding the full scope of what's happening. "You planned this. Both of you." "We planned justice," I tell her. "There's a difference." "My career is ruined. Luke's career is ruined. Are you happy now?" Mara's voice is ice cold. "Your careers are ruined because you made choices that ruined them. We just made sure those choices had consequences." Paula starts to walk away, then turns back. "I loved him, Henry. I really loved him." "I know," I say, and for the first time since this started, I feel a moment of genuine sadness for her. But love doesn't excuse what you did, and it doesn't erase what you destroyed. She nods once, then disappears into the crowd. Mara and I walk outside into the Florida sunshine. The convention center parking lot is full of expensive cars belonging to pharmaceutical executives who are probably inside right now, gossiping about what they just witnessed. "How do you feel?" Mara asks. I consider the question. Different, like I've been carrying something heavy for months and I finally put it down. Good. That's how justice should feel. We walk toward our cars in comfortable silence. When we reach Mara's BMW, she turns to me. "What will you do now?" "Start over, I guess. Figure out what 46 and divorced looks like." "It looks like freedom," she says. "Trust me." "What about you? Are you really reconciling with Luke?" She laughs, and it's the first genuine laugh I've heard from her. That dinner photo was staged. I wanted Paula to see it, to understand that Luke was playing both sides. No, Luke and I are done. But I wanted him to think there was hope, right up until the IRS agents walked into that room. Remind me never to cross you. Henry, you're not capable of crossing anyone. That's why your wife thought she could get away with what she did. She's right, and we both know it. For 20 years, I've been the accommodating husband, the understanding partner, the man who doesn't make waves. But sometimes waves need to be made. Thank you, I tell her, for showing me how to fight back. Thank you for letting me. Revenge is always more satisfying when it's shared. She gets in her car and drives away, leaving me standing in the parking lot thinking about consequences and justice and the strange satisfaction that comes from watching people pay for their choices. My phone buzzes with a text from Greg. How did it go? I type back. Better than expected. Luke's been arrested, Paula's career is over, and I feel like a new man. Drinks tonight to celebrate? Absolutely. But first, I have some divorce papers to file. As I drive home through the Florida heat, I think about the future. For the first time in months, it doesn't look bleak. It looks like possibility. Paula and Luke thought they could rewrite their lives without considering the cost to others. Today they learned that every story has more than one author, and sometimes the co-writers have very different ideas about how the story should end. Their story ends with consequences. Mine is just beginning. 2 weeks later, I'm in my lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers when my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. Henry Dalton. Mr. Dalton? This is Detective Sarah Chen with Tampa PD. We need to speak with you about Paula Dalton and Lucas Reeves. My stomach drops. What about them? They've been arrested on federal charges of wire fraud and money laundering. Your name came up in some of their financial records. We'd like to ask you some questions. I look at my lawyer, who nods. I'll be right there. The Tampa Police Department downtown is a concrete maze of fluorescent lights and institutional furniture. Detective Chen meets me in the lobby, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and the kind of presence that suggests she doesn't miss much. Mr. Dalton, thank you for coming in. This shouldn't take long. She leads me to an interview room where another detective is waiting with a thick file folder. I'm Detective Rodriguez, the second detective says. We're investigating a financial fraud scheme involving your wife and Mr. Reeves. We understand you're in the middle of divorce proceedings? Yes. Paula moved out 3 weeks ago. Detective Chen opens the file. Were you aware that Mrs. Dalton was using her company's international accounts to facilitate money transfers for Mr. Reeves? I found out recently, yes. How recently? I tell them about discovering the bracelet, meeting Mara, and learning about the hidden accounts. They take notes, occasionally exchanging glances. Did you provide any information to Mrs. Reeves that she used to expose this scheme? Detective Rodriguez asks. No, Mara already had everything she needed. I was just collateral damage. Detective Chen slides a photograph across the table. It shows Paula and Luke at what looks like a bank, both of them in handcuffs. They were arrested this morning trying to access a safety deposit box containing approximately $300,000 in cash and bearer bonds. I had no idea they had that much money. The money belongs to Mr. Reeves's former employer and several of Mrs. Dalton's pharmaceutical clients. They've been skimming from marketing accounts for almost a year. I stare at the photo. Paula looks terrified, nothing like the confident woman I married. Luke looks angry, defiant, like he still thinks he can talk his way out of this. What happens now? That depends on their cooperation, Detective Chen says. Federal charges like this typically carry significant prison time. And Mara, Mrs. Reeves? She's been very helpful to our investigation. Her evidence gathering was thorough. After answering their questions, I drive home in a daze. Prison time. Paula could go to prison. The woman who used to make me coffee every morning, who cried during sad movies, who spent hours planning our anniversary dinners, she could spend the next decade in a federal penitentiary. My phone rings as I pull into my driveway. Mara's name appears on the screen. I heard about the arrests, I say. I thought you might want to know the details. Such as? Such as the fact that they were planning to flee the country. Luke had purchased plane tickets to Costa Rica under assumed names. You're kidding. The FBI found the tickets when they searched Luke's apartment. Apparently, he and Paula thought they could disappear with their stolen money and start fresh in a non-extradition country. I lean back against my car, trying to process this information. They were going to run away together? After destroying 2 marriages and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars, yes. They thought they could just vanish and leave the rest of us to deal with the wreckage. How did you know about the safety deposit box? There's a pause. I may have followed them yesterday. I may have seen them visiting the bank and acting suspicious. Mara, you could have been in danger. Henry, I've been in danger for months. Living with a man who was stealing from his family, planning to abandon his children, conspiring with his mistress to commit federal crimes. Following them to a bank was the least dangerous thing I've done lately. That evening, the story breaks on the local news. Former pharmaceutical executives arrested on federal fraud charges. They show Luke's mugshot and Paula's, both of them looking shell-shocked and defeated. The news anchor mentions that the investigation is ongoing and that more arrests may follow. I wonder who else was involved, how deep this conspiracy went. Greg comes over with a bottle of whiskey and we watch the coverage together. Jesus, Henry, you dodged a bullet. More like a nuclear missile. Think she'll try to contact you? I doubt it. Her lawyer probably told her not to talk to anyone. But I'm wrong. At midnight, my phone rings. Paula's number. Henry? Her voice is small, broken. I'm allowed one phone call. Where are you? Hillsborough County Jail. They denied bail. Henry, I'm so scared. I close my eyes, trying to reconcile this frightened voice with the woman who betrayed our marriage. Paula, I can't help you. I'm not asking for help. I needed to hear a familiar voice. What were you thinking? Running away to Costa Rica? Stealing money? It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Luke said we could be together, that he had enough money saved for us to start over somewhere else. Saved? Paula, he stole that money. From his company, from his family, from your clients. I know that now. But he made it sound so reasonable, so romantic. A fresh start in paradise, away from all the complications. Away from your husband and his wife, you mean? She starts crying. I'm going to prison, aren't I? Probably. For how long? I don't know. That's between you and your lawyer. Henry, I'm sorry for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know. I know you're sorry. But sorry doesn't undo 20 years of marriage. Sorry doesn't give me back the trust you destroyed. I loved him. I really thought he loved me. Maybe he did, in his way. But love doesn't excuse what you both did. After she hangs up, I sit in my dark living room thinking about love and betrayal and the strange paths that lead people to destroy their own lives. Paula loved Luke, I believe that. But she loved the idea of him more than the reality. She loved the excitement, the danger, the feeling of being wanted by someone successful and powerful. She loved the fantasy they created together. What she didn't love was the truth, that Luke was a criminal who saw her as an accomplice and an escape route, that their romantic future was built on stolen money and destroyed families, that love without honor is just selfishness wearing a prettier name. My phone buzzes with a text from Mara. How are you holding up? I type back. Better than expected. You? Relieved. Justice has a nice ring to it. What happens next? Next, we rebuild our lives without the people who tried to destroy them. Any advice for a newly single 46-year-old? Yes. Don't settle for less than you deserve ever again. I smile in the darkness. Mara Reeves is a force of nature, and I'm grateful she was on my side rather than against me. Tomorrow, Paula and Luke will wake up in jail cells, facing federal charges and the possibility of decades in prison. They'll have time to think about the choices that brought them there, about the lives they destroyed in pursuit of their selfish fantasy. Tonight, I'm going to sleep in my own bed, in my own house, as a free man who learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their own actions. Justice, it turns out, doesn't require my participation. It just requires patience. And I've got all the time in the world. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a courtroom watching Paula and Luke receive their sentences. Paula gets 8 years for wire fraud and money laundering. Luke gets 12 years for the same charges plus tax evasion and conspiracy. They don't look at each other as the judge reads their sentences. They don't look at me either, though I'm sitting in the front row where they can't miss me. Mara is beside me, wearing a black dress that seems appropriate for this funeral of their former lives. When the judge brings down the gavel, she reaches over and squeezes my hand. It's over, she whispers. No, I whisper back. Now it's over. Outside the courthouse, reporters are waiting. They want comments from the families of the convicted criminals. Mara handles them with the same icy composure she's shown throughout this entire ordeal. Justice has been served, she tells the cameras. My children and I can finally move forward with our lives. They ask me for a comment too. I look directly into the camera and say, 20 years of marriage taught me that trust is the most valuable thing two people can share. When that trust is broken, there are consequences. Today, those consequences were made official. Later, we go to Greg's bar to decompress. The place is nearly empty on a Tuesday afternoon, just the way I like it. So what now? Greg asks, pouring us each a whiskey. Now I figure out what the rest of my life looks like. Mara raises her glass. To new beginnings. To justice served, I counter. To consequences, she says, and we drink. Greg shakes his head. You two are scary when you work together. We're not working together anymore, Mara says. Our business is finished. But she's wrong about that. Over the next few weeks, Mara and I find ourselves talking regularly. Not about revenge or justice or the people who betrayed us, but about simpler things. Books, movies, places we'd like to travel. The conversations of two people learning to trust again. 3 months after the sentencing, she calls me with an unexpected proposition. I'm selling the house, she tells me. Too many bad memories. I'm looking at a place on the Gulf Coast, near Clearwater. Want to see it? Why would I want to see your new house? Because I think you might want to buy the one next door. I'm quiet for a long moment. Mara, I'm not suggesting anything improper, Henry. I'm suggesting that two people who've been through hell together might enjoy being neighbors. Two people who understand the value of honesty and loyalty. What about your children? They're in college now. They visit on weekends and holidays, but they have their own lives. And what about us? What would we be to each other? Friends, neighbors, people who share a history and maybe a future. I drive out to see the houses the following weekend. They're modest beach cottages on a quiet street, nothing like the suburban mansions Mara and I used to live in with our former spouses, but they're clean and bright, with views of the water and the kind of peace that comes from starting over. What do you think? Mara asks as we stand on the beach behind the houses. I think it's perfect. The house? The whole thing. The location, the fresh start, the chance to build something honest. She smiles, and it's the first completely unguarded expression I've seen from her. I was hoping you'd say that. 6 months later, I'm sitting on my back porch watching the sunset over the Gulf of Mexico. Mara is on her own porch next door, reading a book and sipping wine. We wave to each other, a simple acknowledgement between neighbors who share an unusual history. My phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize, but when I answer, I hear Paula's voice. Henry? It's me. She's calling from prison, obviously. Her voice sounds different, smaller, defeated. What do you want, Paula? I wanted to apologize. Really apologize, not just say I'm sorry because I got caught. Okay. I destroyed our marriage for a fantasy. I threw away 20 years for a man who was using me. I helped him steal money from innocent people. I was going to run away and leave you to deal with the wreckage. Yes, you were. I know you can't forgive me. I know there's no fixing what I broke. But I needed you to know that I understand now. I understand what I lost, what I threw away. Do you? A good man, an honest man, a man who loved me for 20 years and never gave me a reason to doubt that love. I watch the sun sink lower toward the horizon. Paula, I hope you find some peace in there. I really do. Are you happy, Henry? Are you okay? I look over at Mara, who's now standing at her porch railing watching the same sunset I am. She raises her wine glass in a small toast to the end of another day. I'm better than okay, I tell Paula. I'm free. After I hang up, Mara walks over to my porch. Everything all right? Paula called to apologize. How did that feel? Like closure. She sits down in the chair next to mine. Do you ever regret it? The way we handled everything? Do you? No. They made their choices, and we made sure those choices had consequences. That's not revenge, that's justice. What's the difference? Revenge is about making someone pay. Justice is about making sure they understand the cost of their actions. We sit in comfortable silence as the sun disappears into the gulf. Tomorrow, Paula will wake up in a prison cell with 6 more years to serve. Luke will wake up in his own cell with 10 years remaining on his sentence. And I'll wake up in my beach cottage next to a woman who understands the value of honesty, loyalty, and consequences. The lease on my old life is up. The lease on my new one has just begun. And for the first time in years, I'm looking forward to the terms.